All right. Well, first of all, happy International Women's Day to all of you magnificent women. It seems apropos that I get to deliver this message on this particular day, because this presentation really is geared towards every single person on this call. I don't think that my journey is unique. I think it's been shared by many of you. I have just decided to recently just put it together and feel like I needed to be sharing it out. So this is Grit, Grind, and Grace. It's the three G's that has changed everything for me. And really, the subtitle is It's a Leadership Journey for Women Who Refuse to Settle. Because that's really how I think that I've gone about my entire career, is just not choosing to settle. So, again, thanks for joining me. I want to start today with my favorite verse. I have it on my wall in my office, and I do read it every day. She's clothed in strength and dignity, and she laughs without fear of the future. That happens to be Proverbs 31:25. And I shared this because I've really not always felt like I was clothed in strength and dignity often. And frankly, if I'm being honest, there's today's like today that I wonder about my strength and how I even really got the privilege to be here with you guys, sharing this message. But also why I wanted so much to share my own journey as a leader, and particularly as a woman leader. It wasn't until recently, with the help of some amazing women, some of them that are on this call, that I realized that it really isn't about, my light that I want to get out there, right? This message is for everyone. And so I'm really thrilled to be here today, talk about grit, grind, and grace, and how I think they are absolutely essential for women leaders who refuse to settle. So if you've not met me before, my name is Dana Georgiou, and I've spent over 30 years in the mortgage industry. That deserves some clapping. If any of you have also been in it, right? Listen, that's applause well deserved for surviving the gauntlet of one of the most male-dominated fields that is out there, right? So thank you. Thank you for the hearts, Molly. So I'm not here to tell you that my journey's been an easy one. In fact, it's been almost the opposite. But I am here to tell you that for me, it was worth it. So let's jump into the words that have really changed the trajectory of my professional and personal life. Grit, grind, and grace. This has not only become somewhat of a mantra and even somewhat of a brand for me. On LinkedIn, you'll see that I talk about grit, grind, and grace all the time, and we've adopted it in different ways. But this is really a very fundamental thing in my personal and professional life. And to illustrate how strongly I feel about it, I actually wear a bracelet. It's got three small pearls on it. And I don't know how this morning I walked out from downstairs at 7:05 this morning and haven't gotten back up, but I didn't put it on, which is strange. But it's got three little pearls on it. And my very sweet friend, and who is now one of my mentees, Delane Nick, sent it to me. And it's a reminder of these principles. I'm going to share the significance of that actually here in just a little bit. And since well-behaved women rarely make history, let's get on with this. I want to show you how these three G's impacted me and can potentially transform you. I love that quote because I think it's often misinterpreted. I don't think it really means doing naughty things. I think it means putting ourselves out there and risking when others don't, and potentially making your own history. Because here's what I know after 3 decades in mortgage of fighting, failing, and finally figuring it out, is that success isn't about being the loudest voice in the room. It's about being the last one standing with our humanity intact. So let's first start with the power of grit. Several years ago, I made $1 million mistake. It was the wrong market, it was the wrong timing, and without question, it was the wrong partner. I had blown everything my team had worked so hard to build. Things like confidence from our corporate office, profitability, and worse, trust. If you follow me on LinkedIn, you may recall I shared this post back in July. I had two choices. I could hide it or I could own it. So I chose to own it, every decision and every penny. That's grit, not the Instagram version where everything works out perfectly, Real grit, true grit, the kind that shows up when you're on your knees and you still have to find a way to stand. Grit is fighting for yourself when no one else will. It's a resiliency of character. And quite frankly, I think you usually either have it or you don't. I truly believe you can learn most anything, but grit has to come from deep down inside of you. And it's a really hard thing to manufacture if it's not part of your core DNA. So how about we get a little vulnerable here with each other? We've got a nice, fairly small group. So by a show of hands, how many of you have sat in a meeting where your idea was dismissed?
Oh,
Keep them up if someone else took credit for your work.
yeah.
And how about when you were told to tone it down or be less aggressive?
Oh, yeah, all the time.
Yeah, absolutely. I've been there in all of those situations, as evidenced by my arms waving along with you. But here's what grit taught me about that. You do not need permission to be excellent. You do not need approval to know your worth. And you absolutely don't need anyone else to believe in you first. Grit's the voice inside that says, I belong here, when everything outside is saying you don't. And I want to pause quickly there because I want Deb G to really hear me say that. I know you're going through a tough time, and I know you think someone else needs to believe in you first, but we don't, even though we do. You have everything that it takes. You have all of the grit to do the things that you want to do. Now back to our regularly scheduled program. Grit is applying for the job you think you're not qualified. And so here's a fun fact. Some of you may know this already. Did you know that most women will not apply for a job where their skill set doesn't line up with 100% of the job posting requirements? Whereas a dude, a man, will apply if only about 60% of his skills line up. Like that speaks volumes to what we have to change, right? We don't need perfection to try for something new or potentially that might be a little bit outside of what we're currently doing. Grit's asking for the raise when they might say no. It's starting a business that everyone thinks will fail and tells you it will most likely fail. So here's a little story time.
Needed the old Cuba too, huh?
Most
I
of
don't
you
know.
will remember that the mortgage
I
market
don't know.
shifted
Well, that's what it says on the deal.
Oh, well, I'm not looking at it right this minute.
Sorry. Most of you will remember that the mortgage market shifted dramatically around March of 2022. I was working for a mortgage aggregator. Well, said aggregator had no actual balance sheet of their own. So when the market shift happened and all of our loan buyers went on pause, it immediately suspended all of our loan buying, which, by the way, I had about $95 million in purchase advices out to our partners. So you can imagine that caused a lot of stress, not only with those lending partners, but internally as a team. And it really was just a matter of a couple of months before that company folded and ultimately filed bankruptcy. After that, I was involved in a similar situation. I just kept thinking, I am really getting tired of taking a punch to the face for someone else's bad decisions. So I launched Lending Luminary. Not only did I not get an overwhelming go get 'em girl from my friends, family, and some trusted industry colleagues, I got this might not be the best time to start your own mortgage consulting. I got a couple suck it ups and go find a real job and do what you have to do to survive type of commentary. But I didn't want to survive. I wanted to thrive. And if I hadn't already been operating into the 3 Gs, it might have actually prevented me from moving forward and launching Lending Luminary. Grit is what propelled me through those conversations. And to know that others had crossed the bridge and found their way safely to the other side, some other women that I knew, like Claire Barber, starting up her women's her legal firm in real estate, and just watching some of the things that she had gone through, right? Those things matter and they're reassuring. So when I'm standing here today talking to you, it's because I was looking ahead to those women that were doing some of these things and were showing some real grit. So it's sometimes those of us who feel like we are faltering, we just need a glance back from one of those women who have gone before us, who's already safely there, and they give us the all clear sign, you can do it. Staying in that, waiting for that, that is all grit. So grit's it's a force, right? It's unseen and it's in the first trifecta to raise us up. So we can be what I like to call dangerously awake. And make no mistake, I want us to be dangerously awake. One of my favorite quotes I have recently read came from Margaret Mead, who, by the way, is the same woman who said, "Never doubt that a small group of thoughtful, committed citizens can change the world. Indeed, it's the only thing that ever has." I personally like to think that Margaret was talking specifically about women. But the one that really stands out for me, she said, "I do not believe in using women in combat because females are far too fierce." I love that. I wish that we all could believe it. But here's a cautionary tale. Grit alone can burn you out, which brings me to the second G, grind. Grind kind of gets a bad rap these days. Everyone wants a work-life balance. I've never known a work-life balance in mortgage. I'm just going to be honest with you guys, right? But you see people out there, they want a 4-day work week or maybe even a 4-hour work week if you believe TikTok reels about making a fast buck or becoming an influencer or selling a product. But please hear me, there is no substitute for doing the work. Grind isn't about working yourself to death. It's about working with intention. Grind means being teachable at every level. When I started in mortgages 35 plus years ago, I knew nothing, zero, nada. I was just a young woman in rooms full of men who seemingly had been doing it for decades. So, you know what I did? I just shut up and I learned, right? I soaked in everything. Not because I was weak, because I was smart. I asked questions others were too proud to ask. I stayed late to understand what others assumed they knew. I read every regulation, every guideline, every update. And fun fact, I still do. Being teachable isn't about being less than. It's about becoming more than. So here's what teachable grind looks like. Admitting when you don't know something. That can be very difficult to do, but it's a key component of the grind. Finding mentors who intimidate you a little. They should intimidate you. That means that you're growing. Kim Hoffman is on this call, and whether she knows it or not, she has been a mentor to countless women. Whether that she's actually done coaching with them or one-on-one, the example that she has set in our industry is the epitome of what a women fearless leader mentor looks like. Find a Kim. Find anyone that looks like a Kim, because it is absolutely important that we all have at least one, right? And this can be personal, it can be professional. I have different coaches and different mentors that I've used at different periods of my life. There's one that has remained steady all the way through. Her name is Robin Alcock. She was our chief operating officer at a company that I worked at over 20 years ago. And she gave me responsibilities that I absolutely should not have had. I had no idea what to do with them, but she knew that I would grind it out and figure it out and seek the right people to get the right information to be able to build it out. Those are the people that you want in your corner, the ones that are giving you new opportunities of things that you didn't know how to do. They're the ones that are vetting through ideas about when you don't think that you should be applying for a promotion or a job or a raise, right? Those are the types of things that we need, and they should scare us a little bit. So teachable grind also looks like treating every failure as data, not defeat. Please let me repeat that. I need you to treat every failure as data, not defeat. If you treat them as failures, you will never, ever get over them. Teachable grind also looks like investing in yourself before anyone else will. Or in other words, you start to understand and know your worth. I've watched some really brilliant women plateau because they stop learning. I've seen average women, really much like me, get to soar beyond anything that we expected because we never stopped asking, what's next? I recently received a certificate from Houston Christian University for their women's leadership program. It took nearly a year of fitting it into work and life. But I did that grind because my hope was that it would make me a better consultant, a better mortgage professional, a better mentor, and a much better leader. The grind, it's not glamorous. It's the foundation of everything else that things are built on. It's a block between the resilience and the perseverance. And this G hits probably the hardest for me because I almost didn't have a mortgage career. The year I started in mortgage, I was beaten so badly by a man, I almost didn't recover. Not only was I bruised and cut outside, but honestly, he nearly crushed my entire inner being as well. And I had to fight my way back. I didn't do that by grind alone, but they do say there is no testimony without a test. And that period of my life was certainly the greatest that I probably have ever come through. You will always hear me say, I think that his mercies are new every morning. And I do thank God that I get that every single day. I thank him for bringing me through that trial and setting my path in this industry that has so unbelievably blessed me and my family every day. And for instilling in me the grind to keep moving forward. And so that brings me to probably the most important G of all. And after 59 years of life on this planet and 35 years in mortgage, if I could only keep one G, it would be this one. And that's grace. This is not the soft, passive kind of grace. This is the fierce, intentional kind. Its grace is showing up with humanity in spaces that forgot it exists. If you remember a few minutes ago, I talked about that $1 million mistake, right? When I gathered my team around and told them everything, you know what happened? They didn't run, they rallied, because grace creates loyalty that fear never could. We've all worked for leaders that create fear versus using grace to create loyalty. That's something that can set us apart as leaders. Grace looks like mentoring the person who might take your job someday. Celebrating competitors, but those competitors who win fairly, admitting mistakes before anyone finds them, and choosing collaboration over competition. One of the things that I can say that I've really witnessed truly over the last year plus in the industry is I am seeing more collaboration across competitors than ever before. And that's just a win, right? And we have to keep the momentum building on that type of collaboration. Things are just moving too fast for us not to be able to do that. And listen, there's very few things that are secret sauce in any of our real lending shops, right? And so being able to really talk with other leaders about what is working and even better, what isn't working, just makes all of us better. That's grace. Here's the part that people miss. And I really did very, very early on in my career is grace starts right here. It starts with you. How many of us are harder on ourselves than any boss could ever be? If I asked you to show your hands, you probably all would raise them. How many replay every mistake you've made, but you forget the victories? How many of you give everyone a second chance, but you never seem to give yourself one? Grace with yourself is not weaknesses, my darlings. It is wisdom. It's understanding that you can be a work in progress and be a masterpiece at the same time. I've always wondered why it is that when we look at the stars, we say, God, you're amazing, the beauty created. But as women, we look in the mirror and we say, oof, ugh, girl, that line, that gray, that whatever, right? We have got to snap out of that. Listen, the same God that made all of those amazing stars are the same ones that made us. And you're just a masterpiece, exactly where you are today. If you have something that you want to change, it's because you want to, not because you're not perfectly positioned exactly as that masterpiece today. So how does all of this go together? Well, I think that grit gets you in the room. It's the courage to show up when you're scared, to speak up when you're silenced, and to stand up when you're knocked down. Grind keeps you in the room. It's the discipline to outwork doubt, to outlearn limitations, and to outperform expectations, most specifically your own. Grace just makes the room bigger. It's the wisdom to bring others with you, to build bridges instead of walls, and to leave every place better than you found it. So here's a real example. Last year, I had the privilege of being able to work with a female loan officer in Texas. She was smart, driven, but she was really stuck. She had been passed over for promotion two times by the firm that she was working with. So we started some mentoring and some coaching sessions, and we started implementing the 3 Gs. First was grit. I had her apply for a position at a competitor 1 level higher than what she had. She got the job. Oh, and by the way, she did not meet 100% of the qualifications to apply for the job, and I made her do it anyway. Grind. She spent the next 90 days learning their systems and people better than the folks who had been there for years. And then grace. She built a reputation for helping and supporting others that was so strong, they promoted her within 6 months. She didn't change who she was from the company that didn't promote her. She just changed how she showed up with grit, grind, and grace. So now that I've shared with you the 3 Gs that really transformed my life and leadership, there's a 4th G. And I haven't talked about it yet. And it's often really kind of unspoken and maybe even silent. But it's so fundamental that I sometimes forget it's there because it is so quiet. It's almost like breathing, right? You don't really notice it until someone points it out. And that G is gratitude. So here's what I've discovered. You can have all of the grit in the world, but without gratitude, it can turn into bitterness. You can grind harder than anyone, but without gratitude, it's going to become a prison. And you can always show grace to everyone around you, but without gratitude, at some point, your tank will run empty. Gratitude isn't just saying thank you. In the mortgage industry, we're trained to say thank you, right? Thank you for your business. Thank you for your referral. Thank you for choosing us. That's not what I'm talking about. I am talking about the type of gratitude that can save your life. So in late 2019, I lost my mom. She'd been sick for a very long time. But the day the call came, I just felt the lifeblood run out of me. I just felt completely lost, right? An anchor had come unhitched from me. So I kept coming back to the 3 Gs. I used grit to show up for my team, for my family. And when I didn't think I could, I just kept coming back to it and coming back to it. That momentum started a catalyst for the grind of losing 101 pounds. The person that you see here today is not the same person that I was 5 years ago, right? I lost a full person. I had to grind every day. And I did the work to get those pounds, keep myself centered and grounded through all of this time of going through the loss with my mom. And in that same year, from all of these things, I was rebuilding my faith in the midst of all of that loss. And so grace had to show up, right? It had to show up for me And it had to show up for others, people who didn't understand what I was going through from a grieving perspective. Coupled that with now being someone completely new physically and navigating the mental piece of all of that, right? Grit, grind, and grace are the things that got me there. But what actually healed me, it was the gratitude for all of that pain itself. Ladies, gratitude is what transforms your grit from survival to strength. It's what turns your grind from punishment to purpose. And it's what makes our grace genuine instead of performative. In leadership, and specifically, I think mortgage leadership, we face rejection daily, right? Deals fall through, rates can spike, regulations change, teams struggle. But gratitude, real gratitude, that reframes every single challenge. The deal that fell through, I'm grateful it taught me, never assume. The team member who quit, I'm grateful they showed me that I had gaps in my leadership. The market changing, I'm grateful it revealed who I really am under pressure and then I could pivot. So here's your practical takeaway today. Before you exercise grit tomorrow, before you embrace the grind, before you extend grace, start with gratitude, not for what's easy, but for what's hard. Because when you're grateful for the struggle, that struggle loses its power over you. So here's a little exercise to take away today. Write down 3 things you're facing right now that absolutely feel impossible. And I want you to find one thing in that to feel genuinely grateful for in that challenge. And I don't mean that fake positivity BS. I mean real gratitude for what it's teaching you, revealing in you, or preparing you for. So I'm going to repeat that. Write down 3 things that feel impossible. Find one thing to be genuinely grateful for, and then don't fake it. Let the gratitude teach you and prepare you. Grit gets you through, grind gets it done, grace makes it sustainable, but gratitude transforms it all into growth, which kind of makes me giggle because that's an unintentional another G. The mortgage industry doesn't need just warriors. It needs grateful women, warrior leaders. Women who can say thank you to the very things that are trying to break us, because we know that's exactly what will make us unbreakable. Here's what I know. Every woman on this call has been told she is too much of something. You're too aggressive. You're too emotional. You're too ambitious. You're too difficult. You're too what the ever, right? Good. I want you to be too much, but be too much with intention. Use your grit to fight the life that you want. Use your grind to build the skills that make you unstoppable. And use your grace to create the legacy that lasts and what creates other women warriors. And then be grateful for it all. Because here's the truth that no one tells you and no one told me. The mortgage industry needs what you bring. It needs your perspective, your approach, your ability to see people and not just profits. I want us all to be women who are at ease with our strength, but at rest with the power that we hold. You do not need to lead like a man to be a great leader. You need to lead like yourself with grit, grind, and grace. My challenge to you, pick one area where you need more grit and fight for yourself there this week. Pick one skill you need to grind on, start learning and leaning into that today. And then pick one person who needs your grace and extend it without expectation. And oh, by the way, if that happens to be yourself, I think that's all the much better. Because success isn't about breaking glass ceilings. It's about building glass doors. So the women behind us, they can see their way forward. Matthew Arnold, a British poet in the 1800s, once said, "If there ever comes a time When the women of the world come together purely and simply for the benefit of mankind, it will be a force such as the world has never known. Every time I read that quote, it gives me goosebumps because I just can't imagine if we all came together as women in this industry, the power of what we could collectively do together. We have the power to change it. At the beginning of this, I had mentioned my bracelet for my very sweet friend and champion, and she is a champion of mine, Delane Nick. It came with this note from the bracelet maker, and it's my final words to you. She is unshakable, not because she doesn't know pain or failure, but because she always pushes through, because she always shows up and she never gives up. She believes anything is possible no matter the odds. And perhaps what makes her the most beautiful has less to do with what lies upon the surface and more to do with what lies within. She isn't beautiful because of her appearance. No, she's beautiful because of the way she chooses to live and to love, in the way she embraces all of life's experiences, good or bad, in her willingness to bend but never break, and in her courage to believe that the darkness can't hold her as long as she continues to create her own light. She is just like a pearl made from grit, but full of grace. She is unstoppable. She knows it's not what happens, but how she chooses to respond with perseverance in her mind and passion in her heart. I can't thank you guys enough, Kim, for recommending to Molly to do this, for the privilege of being here with you, for all of you giving your time and attention after hours. It's my honor and privilege to really be here with you today. And I promise you, I don't take it lightly or for granted. Again, my name's Dana Georgiou. I'm grateful for every single thing that's brought me to this moment with you. I hope there's something in here that you take away. And I just can't wait to see how Grit, Grind, and Grace starts showing up for all of you in the future. So we've got still a little bit of time. If there's questions, if there's things that you want to share, would love for there to be some commentary around that.
That was so wonderful and so timely.
Thank you. Thank you, Jen. I appreciate that.
Can you share that quote from the bracelet maker with us some way?
Yeah, I absolutely will. I will put it out on Athena's Council. I'll post it there as a post for you guys.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, it's a good one.
Yeah.
I had never, obviously I hadn't seen it before. And so, getting the bracelet was a wonderful, sweet surprise. But then for it to come with that type of powerful message, I was like, oh man, I got to figure out how this gets worked in. So.
Thank
I think
you.
you should write a whole book about this.
That's what I said.
Listen, it's a possibility for sure, right? I think that we could expand this in so many ways that it probably absolutely could fill a book, right? And the cool thing that I really love about this is, well, this is my story, right? There was obviously things in there that were very personal to me. There isn't a woman on this call that hasn't had something that has been so monumentally impactful during our career that it didn't either almost break us, right? Or want to change industries or, any of those things. And so I think that's what makes this so powerful is the collective voice of those stories. Because that's what, candidly, other women sharing their stories with me is what made me try to be brave to share mine out, because it's not easy. It's not easy to do it in a forum. And not that I don't feel like I can't get, especially with this group, right? I've come to know and love so many of you, your, friends, colleagues, all of those things. So in this format, it's probably a little bit easier. But to get out there in front of a group like I had to do, in Connecticut a couple of weeks ago with a mixed audience, and you're like, oh, like, can I do this. And normally I'm, I don't think any of you would describe me if you know me as shy and demure, not usually two characteristics of people that attach to me. But there was hesitation there for sure, right? Because there's a vulnerability in our stories. So yeah. So maybe a book. We'll see. Molly will have to be my editor. If she agrees to be my editor, then I'll probably really consider it.
I could totally see you doing a book out of this, and I could totally see you going and talking to people like on this call, because everybody's got something. You could just do like, I forget what it's called, but when you just take the collection from people that you interview that fill in, like, what does this mean? Give us examples. I think you could do a whole book.
I love that. Is it what's the soup for the soul, right? I think that's kind of the
Yeah,
books where
chicken
they
soup.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Um Absolutely. And listen, again, right? My story is my story, but the collective stories of women that have come along, and not just in this industry. I mean, I feel passionately because this is the industry that I have been in for, my entire career and has served me so well. But we could go outside of this industry, and I know that the stories that we would get
Oh,
from
yeah.
women in tech and manufacturing and, all of the places that women, are now and powerfully are, not to the level that we absolutely should be, of course, and we all recognize that, but their stories are just as powerful.
Yeah, I think what makes our industry, to your point, yes, all industries or women in all industries would be applicable. What makes our industry so unique are two things that just keep me so grounded, and that is we create wealth for the middle class. Very few, unless you're a doctor or somebody who's like saving lives. I mean, you are really doing community good here. And then the other piece of it is that rarely do we get to control what happens to us in terms of interest rate spikes or when interest rates pull back. We're kind of a feast or famine, but we don't control that. Um, so I could totally see a great book out of this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll have to put a collective task group together and start brainstorming on that. And we're going to add that all to the plates that every single woman on this call already has, right? Because here's the other thing that seemingly gets a little bit forgotten, right? I'm a wife and a mother and a grandmother, and so all of the things that I do in a day from a professional level, I still then have to go and I cook and I clean and I do laundry and all of the things that we as women, do in our households and support that oftentimes our counterparties don't have to. Right. And so there's something that gets a little bit lost and forgotten about all of those other things. And now I am very, very lucky to have a husband and partner that will absolutely make his own dinner when I'm working until 8 o'clock at night, and never raise a thing about her, do
That'd
laundry.
be like if you want to eat, you know where the refrigerator and the stove is.
Yeah, exactly. But listen, most men sitting in our seats in the roles that we're in don't necessarily have to think in that regard if they've got a counterparty at home to be able to help support them and do that. So there's a whole another level that gets added to us that I think that's why we should have superhero statuses, right? Like I've loved seeing out on LinkedIn over the past couple of weeks as part of Women's History Month, showing up in superhero, costumes. I don't know what mine would look like. I haven't done the exercise yet, but I truly believe everyone on this call is a superhero. No doubt about it. Megan, I think you were going to share something.
I was. I mean, first of all, I just wanted to thank you for doing this and tell you it was fantastic. I wrote down you have a lot of good tidbits. I like myself have some tidbits. But I've heard your 3Gs before, or read about it. Maybe I'm familiar with it, but I really love how you added the gratitude piece. That was really awesome.
Thank you.
And then I guess I have two questions. One is, you mentioned, oh, you should always have a mentor. And then like Suha's book just came out about mentorship. So this mentor thing comes up a lot. This session was called the mentor workshop. And I have questions around that because I don't have one. I think I had one once in my life. She was more of a spiritual mentor than, and definitely not a business mentor. I've always been surrounded by men in my work, like predominantly, and that hasn't changed now that I'm in the mortgage industry, although I'm really very connected with a lot of women's groups, which has been amazing,
Mhm.
part of being part of this industry. And then, so I guess my question is, do you just stumble into your mentors, or like, well, I'm wondering what everyone's experience is around that. And
Such a great question.
my second question is, I got the first exercise, but I can't remember it. I didn't really catch the second. Like it was like something to associate with each grit, like like where do you, I guess just it was just where do you apply, where do you in your own life do you need to apply grit, grind, grace? Is that kind of the gist of it? 'Cause
Yeah. Yeah,
I
it
didn't get that.
absolutely was. So, you
Okay.
know, from the grind perspective, like if there's something that you've been wanting to learn, that takes grind, right? So lean into that. So if there's, you know, I'll throw out AI, right? That's the buzzword of the year. And so if you have only been using it in this one capacity, but you want to see, you know, what it really could look like here, well, pick that one thing and start looking at all different kinds of resources to learn about it, Megan, right? And really lean into it. That's what grind really is.
Mhm.
And so that that for sure, right, is how you can apply each of those things. The first one was the takeaways, like find three things that you're just finding impossible right now.
Right.
Yeah,
I've got that one for sure. Okay,
good.
thank
Okay.
you. And what, anything about the mentor thing?
Yes. So I'll share.
Okay.
So this is my perspective. And listen, I think others, you know, should and can add to this. Sometimes they are accidental. I got very, very lucky early on that I had a phenomenal woman mentor, right? And it changed everything about how I wanted to show up and lead because I just saw her doing it so spectacularly and then just giving it away, right? With no strings attached. And very early on in my career, you know, there was very few seats at the table to begin with. So if you had two women competing for that seat, we were elbowing each other. And now the mentality that I really want us to have is, okay, listen, if there's only so much room at the table, how far can I scooch over to bring another woman along with me, right? It doesn't have to be a one or the other situation. And that has been an evolution. Now, do I think it's at a level that it should be? No, there's still some highly competitive. Scott Reese put a post out on LinkedIn last month talking about the mean girl syndrome. It is still very much alive and well in our industry. It's awful. But I love that he, you know, raised it up out there as a man that is, you know, looking to be an ally and a supporter of women. But it happens. So from a mentor perspective, if someone just hasn't naturally come along, and by the way, it doesn't have to be a woman. I've had men mentors as well for different, you know, times and different reasons of things. You can also hire a coach, which doesn't sound like a mentor, but it can give you some of the same things that a mentor will. So depending on where you are in your career about where you think that you need to be coached up, there's a lot of great resources out there. I also happen to know that if you reached out to anyone in Suha's book and you said, hey, knock, knock, I need a mentor, right? That they would commit time to you. Now, it might not be a year-long commitment. It might not even be a 6-month commitment. That might be okay, right? You might need just to absorb pockets of time. Maybe they could give 1 hour a month. Still great, right? And so I would encourage you to look and find, and by the way, you can't get what you don't ask for. I had to learn that really early on in my career. Oh,
Yes,
why am I not
right.
getting the raise?
The
Well,
worst
because no,
someone
you
could
didn't
say is
ask for it.
no, but they can
Yeah,
also say yes.
that's right. I mean, and listen, someone potentially like right now, if someone came to me, my answer would have to be no, just because I don't have, I can't, I couldn't in good faith really give them the time that I know that it deserves, even 1 hour right now. In a couple of months, that's going to change. And so I'm hoping to be able to add some of that back in. So don't be bothered by a no, because I also want to, especially women, to be empowered to say no when it needs to be no. Too often we say yes because we feel like we have to. And I want that to change too. But I would venture a guess that if you reached out to the majority of them, at least half of them would be willing to give you a half hour a week, an hour a month, all different ways that people could show up and support.
Interesting.
I'm
Thank
looking at the
you.
back of her book and who some of these people are. Some's a little surprising. Have you read her book?
I have not read it yet.
Yeah, I'm ordering it now. Yeah.
I will read it.
Yeah, it's this
I
one,
plan to read
yellow
it.
book.
Yes.
Yeah, I had the great privilege of writing the foreword for this book. So
Oh,
that was
awesome, Dana.
that was my contribution
That's very cool.
in there. And it's funny because I named Robin in that foreword and I talked about her. And so you'll find when you really have something so meaningful in that changes, that it doesn't matter if it was 20 years ago or 2 weeks ago, the power that they still keep.
I would tell you
I-
that, I mean, I'm looking at the back of this book. I mean, if you're in the mortgage industry and you're looking for a mentor now, there are some women here who have made it to the top of the echelon who never even thought they would. And if you reach out to me, I will give you a list of women that will rock your socks off, who would be so willing to do this for you, who are senior in their career, whose real place in the industry today, I mean, they're creating outstanding value in the industry in senior leadership roles, but their whole objective is reaching down and pulling women up.
Yeah, I love that. And I want to do
That's-
it myself, but I'm relatively new to this industry. And I don't even really know. Like I said, I had a spiritual mentor, a woman, but I've never had a professional one. So it's a new concept. So thanks, Kim. I will reach out to you.
Absolutely. And I mean, I have like 10 that just come to mind right now that
I love that.
I mean, and we all reach out to each other as well. And I
Yeah.
don't think a mentor is a one thing, is a
Or
one
one-sided.
person, right? I mean, it can be, right? But I think you get so much from who you interact with. And so
For sure.
inviting people into your life and being open and honest, I mean, they do the same thing back to you. And you have this really remarkable kind of bi-directional growth that happens for both of you. It's not just one pouring into your cup, it's you're both pouring into each other's
Yeah.
cup. And I think
Yeah.
that's what makes it so extraordinary. By the way, this is not to take away from anything that Suha's doing or her book. It's just in addition to, right?
100%.
But guys, you're the CEO of your seat. I tell my employees that all the time. You are far much more in control of where you are, what you do, and your what's next than you believe you are. And having people that help foster that confidence in you is career changing.
Yeah.
I love it.
I mean, I look at my own career. I'm like, I told somebody this weekend, I was like, my career I was a teller at Huntsville National Bank, which Dana doesn't live too far from that. I worked my way through school in a state college and became the COO of Morgan Stanley Home Loans. And everybody who was reporting to me on my direct leadership team had MBAs and undergrads from Ivy League schools. So the moral of that, there are no limitations. The limitations we have actually, they live in and they grow in our head. We're the ones that set the ceiling on us. Nobody else does. And so my point in sharing that is don't look around and see limitations. See unbelievable opportunities everywhere you look.
That was so motivational. Thank you. I love that.
Yeah, well, I could never believe. I mean, it is hard for me to look back over my career and tell you where I started and where I am. I don't work because I don't have to work. I work now. I mean, there was a point in my time where I had to, right? I mean, I was dirt poor, but over time, I have not needed to work for quite some time. I love what we do. I love the value we provide. I love the community that we get from one another, because women just by nature we're not competitive. Let's all win. If one wins,
Yeah.
we all win. So,
Yeah.
that's the whole beauty of it. And when you get to do something that you love, it is not work.
Mm-mm.
My mom used to tell me, if you find something you do that you love, you will never work a day in your life. I promise you, I have never worked a day in my life.
Yeah.
I really believe that,
I
because
agree.
even though it was hard, and look, look, you don't go from, zero to where I am in terms of being, done this for almost 35 some odd years, and not have setbacks. But to
Right.
Dana's point, setbacks, that's data. That's
Totally.
nothing but data. That is, wish I hadn't done that. Wish I hadn't said that, but tomorrow I'm going to do something different. And I will tell you, if you're not leaning into AI now, AI is my own personal productivity army. There is nothing I can't know, and I don't feel like much that I can't do, because I can get the guidance from AI to get my feet moving.
Mm-hmm.
We didn't have that. We did not have that. Dana is right. Most of the people, and me, like in my age group, I have read the Fannie Mae Seller Guide. I have read every page in the Fannie Mae Servicing Guide. I have read the OCC Handbook, and that fucking thing's made out of tissue paper. It is not easy to read. And now, you don't have to do that. It's at your fingertips, which makes you so incredibly powerful, because knowledge is your weapon.
Yeah, it is
Okay.
incredible. I
I'm going to
agree.
tell you, knowledge that you keep to yourself and don't share is a very dull weapon.
Mm, like that.
Yeah, you've got to spread it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I look at it, you guys, and I'm kind of, entering where I can see the end, of my career on the horizon. Not really sure what that looks like for me, because it's like, I don't know. Could you do this when you're 90? I don't know.
Yeah.
But if you love it, I guess you could. But and I look at you guys, and I feel like Dana, me, Susie Lindblom, Tammy, Richards. There's so many of us who our journey was so different. And you guys, you just can't imagine how fantastic your careers can be. You just have, there's no ceiling. There's no, you really are unstoppable. The only thing that would hold you back is you.
100% agree.
And that is so cool to me to see that for you. And by the way, we might have taken it on our chin a little bit, so you would have that. Just don't, just so you
Thank
know.
you.
Because there were some moments where you're just like, yeah, if I could punch you in the face, I would. But I'm not going to do that, because I like my job. But man, we've been through, every woman who is in our age group has been through sexual harassment that would blow your mind. And I'm not talking about just words. I'm talking about physical. I'm
No doubt.
talking about mean stuff. I'm talking about women stabbing each other in the back. And we've come so far, and it is so awesome to see where we are today. And yeah, I'm kind of jealous that I won't get to see, in my lifetime, all the awesome things you guys are going to get to do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Too.
You're going to all have to
We
write
with
books.
90,
Yeah, maybe we just stick around,
That's
But
it.
I don't want to be the person everybody says, God, she's still working.
Well, you clearly can provide a lot of value as a mentor or like a motivational speaker or something like that. Both of you, Dana and you.
Well, thank you. I think, we've certainly we've been around the block a lot. We have a lot that we've seen and done, and I hope that, we've made mistakes, or I have. I'm not going to speak for Dana. But we've made mistakes, and hopefully we can share with you so that you don't make those same mistakes. But I truly believe that your careers are limitless. And by the way, not everybody wants a limitless career, and that's fine too,
Mhm.
right? But for those who want limitless opportunities, be your CEO because you are the CEO of your career.
Yep. Nobody can stop you but you.
Go see what the world, what it has to offer. I mean, there was a moment in my career I never thought I'd go to India, let alone 8 times.
Me too.
I just today you don't know what's available to you.
That's a wonderful thought. I love that.
And Megan, I
Yes.
had the pleasure of talking to Megan. It was wonderful. But
Hey,
over
likewise.
the last 2.5 weeks, when I have been reaching out and meeting people and talking with different industry people, I feel like so many people are my mentors and they don't even know it.
Right.
And
Okay.
everybody has showed
Yeah.
up for me the last 2.5 weeks in ways that has been extraordinary. So when Kim just said, like, you don't get what you don't ask for, something like that earlier,
Yeah.
that is true because I put it out there and everybody, people on this call, people in the industry have just helped tremendously. It's such a huge but small industry. It's funny.
Yeah. Yeah. It's been great for me so far, but I like this conversation. I have been curious about it. So super appreciate
There
everyone's
isn't one person on
sharing.
this call who couldn't add value to every other person on this call,
Oh, for
Absolutely.
sure.
right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
I will
Regardless of
chime
where
in.
we are in our careers, right? I
And
mean,
we
Kim and
want
I
to.
both think that we're, kind of, potentially on the more seasoned or backside of our careers. But I learned something new from, I learned something new yesterday, as a matter of fact, from someone who's only been in this industry for 2 years. And I'm like, well, holy shit, how come I never thought about that 35 years in, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, 100%.
Well, I'm going to Kellogg Business School right now and taking an 8-week AI course, and I'll do an MIT after that. I will tell you, part of your journey should include never stop learning.
That's the grind.
Lifelong learner, that is the grind. But you know what? Don't make it a grind. Everything you learn is a contribution to your soul.
Oh yeah. 100%. But it does take the tenacity, right, and the grind to do it because that's not your day
Oh
job.
yeah.
So you've got to be committed into it and you've got to put in the work. And it's tough. It can be tough. And when you feel like quitting, just call one of us. We'll tell you not to. I meant that for you, Kim.
There was a moment when I was in this program. What was I thinking? I was like, what were you thinking? And I got over that hump. But there are always, when you get everybody gets a little overwhelmed, guys. You know what? But those are moments in time and they pass. And you keep on moving. So I don't think we meant to talk about all this stuff, but it kind of just unpacked itself. So, hey, here's your whole personal board of directors right here on this call. Fill your cup with these people, with everybody here, and you will grow in such amazing ways. Plus, there's tons of other people who would love to do that.
Yeah. And I would love to reciprocate too, but
Yeah, and
thank
you've
you.
got a lot to bring to the table, Meg, for sure, right? And
Thanks.
so, yeah, it's never a one-way thing. I can promise
Yeah.
you, people that have mentored for me or with, it's always been something, back and forth. And that's going to be one of maybe the most difficult things at first is identifying for yourself where you think that you need the mentor. I want to caution you to not pigeonhole yourself. Like, just start talking to people. They're going to start asking you some challenging questions, and then you go, oh, okay, this is where I need to fill the gap, right? Because sometimes it's easier for us to go, oh, well, I just don't know how to handle a negotiation. Okay, cool. Well, any of us could, not any of us, but right, that's kind of like a specialty thing in there. So if you need something like that, you can definitely get that. But I would really encourage you to kind of just have conversations about where you currently are, what you're looking to do, and then let them help start, kind of pulling things out that add value and that you can then go pursue, right? They may not even have the answer. They may just be the person that just identifies it for you.
Yeah, I love that. I think for me, honestly, and probably other people feel this way, is that maybe is I am just so I don't like asking people for help or guidance, but that's such a pig-headed way of being, and it doesn't, I know logically that it's
Mm.
unproductive, it's just something like it's hard. I'm one of those people, I just have a hard time asking for help, but it's just been a thing. It's not as bad as it used to be. I recognize it's not a smart character trait, but it's just something that I've had to learn as I grow, that's
Yeah.
actually a strength. So it's just uncomfortable, but it's
Can I
I guess
reframe
it's
that
getting
for
out of
you?
your comfort zone.
Yeah, can I reframe that for
Yes,
you?
please do.
Okay. Okay.
Sorry.
You're not asking for help. You're reaching out for a conversation.
Yeah, not help. I didn't mean it that. Yeah, thank you.
Just have a conversation with somebody, right? It's not help.
Yeah, it's not
I
help.
mean, it
Where
can
I
be
don't,
helpful,
a
but
mentor, it
just
seems like
reframe
that's
it.
like,
Just pick up the phone and call somebody. I mean,
Yeah. Hey, I just wanted to vet this out, with I want your opinion, or, how would
yeah,
you
what do
approach
you think
this,
about
right?
this?
yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's
Ladies, I
that
have to
feels
run.
better.
This has
Thank
been
you.
fun, but I do want to say, when I was at Morgan Stanley, I was introduced to Carla Harris. I don't know if you guys have ever heard that name, Carla Harris. She's a managing director. I think she's now probably doing something else for Morgan Stanley. Being in the room with that woman was rare air. She's a PhD from Harvard. She's one of the top ranking female executives in finance. She has sung and sing. I think she sings like maybe often at Carnegie Hall. I mean, this is a woman whose cup runneth over. And she's written several books, and I've read her books. And she was at Empower maybe a year, 2 years ago. She is absolutely extraordinary. If you have some free time, go out and look at her books, pick one and just read it. Now she is, I think she's got 3 books out, but she to me represents rare air.
What's her name again, please?
Carla Harris.
Thanks. I love to read, so.
Yeah. And she did I think she was at Empower. I think she was on the stage for an hour, probably a little bit more. And then I think either they gave us her book. I'd already had it because I worked with her at Morgan Stanley, but she's just one of many women. Not just, I mean, not. I mean, this woman was on the advisory panel for Obama and for other countries. I mean, that's the kind of greatness that
Yeah.
But there are amazing women who have done some amazing things, and maybe you'll be interested in reading what they've done.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I love all y'all.
One quick thing that's been on my mind since you have been talking about this, Dana, is like grace. That is one and showing it, extending it to yourself, right?
Yeah.
Like I like to give advice that I need to pay attention to myself. So any of you on this call, if you reached out to me and told me about a problem that you would be having, what you would find is I will be your ally. y- I will be your hype beast. I will cheer for you and root for you. And if I would just give myself half of the positivity, support, forgiveness, grace that I would give to any of you or even a stranger I meet at the supermarket. Like, why are we not doing that for ourselves? I definitely am not. And I think that's part also of the gratitude part, Dana, that you were talking about is it's easier to feel that gratitude when you're taking care of yourself with grace.
Mhm.
Um,
Yeah.
and so I'm going to challenge myself this week to be, 20% as kind to myself as I would be to somebody I don't even know, you
Yep.
know?
Grace is the hardest one for sure, right? I mean, there's not a woman on this call that, doesn't have, grit and grind. Otherwise, you wouldn't be where you are in your careers. Grace is absolutely the hardest one. And to your point, Molly, not usually for others. Though sometimes I haven't, always shown the grace that probably someone, deserved for whatever reason. But most assuredly, for myself, it's like you just couldn't give yourself a break. And how awful is that, right?
Yeah.
To not be showing up for yourself every single day. And again, that's one of the reasons that really was behind all of this was a way for me to show up for myself.
We don't do that because we're our biggest critics.
Yeah.
We're also our biggest champion and competitor, I think.
Oh, I think so too. Yeah. You can put me up against any other person as a competitor, but then once I start battling myself in a situation, it's like, oh, okay, that's a whole different ball game.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Well, this has been amazing. I know
Thank you
we
so much for
run
doing
over.
it, Dana.
Yeah, my pleasure.
Killed
Thank
it.
you, Dana.
Thank you. Thank you,
It was
guys. I'm
awesome,
glad you
Dana.
recorded it. We can share it out. Molly, if you want to share it via email or in the council, however you want to do it, you use your discretion to do it. And then if anyone else has any, feedback, suggestions, things, just reach out to me.
Thank
Maybe
you.
maybe it'll
Thanks,
become a
Dana.
TED Talk someday.
Thank you,
Who
Kim.
knows?
Yeah.
Should.
Good. She should write a book.
Yep.
Write
I
the
think you
book,
mentioned that.
do the TED Talk. I think
Oh,
totally.
TED Talk. Oh,
You and I should talk
You've already
about
got that
do
done.
All right, Kim. I'm gonna take you up on the book thing. We're definitely gonna brainstorm.
Yeah, well, I'm
Yeah,
sitting in the
TED
back
Talk.
row whispering in your ear saying you got a book in you.
I know. You're
Okay.
you're a champion for sure for that. Thank you.
Bye, ladies. Great to
Bye,
see you.
Thank
everybody.
you.
Have a
Bye,
great
Molly.
night. See
Thanks,
you
Molly.
soon. Bye.
Bye.